What is up, everybody? This is Erik, the one and only barrier collector, and today we are continuing the series of how I got my consoles. This is part 4. We are down to the 6th generation of consoles, and this one in particular, it's a little bit unique, being that there are some consoles that I like and some consoles that I'm okay with that I really don't mind. But anyways, let's get started. First console up, out of the whole set from the 6th generation consoles, one of the best things I can say is, where were you guys at on 9/9/99? Yes, that is correct. September 9th, 1999, which was when this particular console came out, and that is the Dreamcast. Now, this console, like I mentioned, came out in September 9, 1999, and believe it or not, this was out of the 6th gen consoles. This was my very first one. Now, one of the interesting things about this console, and I mentioned this before, is that I pre-ordered this console on that day. I actually stood in line for a while to get my console when it came out, and I remember playing it, being excited about having it, and unfortunately, I ended up not liking the console. Unfortunately, yeah, but then I only had a few games. My very first game that I bought for this console was House of the Dead 2. Really fun game. I remember that. However, eventually after a couple of games, I gave up on it and just, wasn't too happy with it. Now, fast forward to like about a couple of years later, a couple of years ago, maybe like 2 years ago, I found this one console at the flea market, and I took a gamble and bought it, and I'm glad I did, because between then and now, I realized that this is one of the consoles that you can easily burn games and everything, and you don't even need to worry about doing anything to mod the console. But you need a particular model that can play them, because the earlier models are the ones that can play those games that don't need to be modded. It's region free and whatnot. And this is one of those consoles. So yeah, I actually like the Game Gear console a lot. Now I've gotten more respect for it, and I love the little memory cards that were for it, that you can play little like Tamagotchi style games. Really fun and interesting console. But then here we get to the bread and butter of this whole 6th generation console that I enjoyed the most, and that is the PlayStation 2. Yes, if you guys can see it, sorry it's a little dark. I actually have a screen for it. This is the PlayStation 2 Slim. I bought a screen to play it, remotely. But this particular console, the PlayStation 2, came out back in October 26th of 2000. I remember, so of these consoles, I actually own, I have 2 of these PlayStation 2 Slims, and then my girlfriend has her own, so we own a total of 3 PS2 Slims. But then the original one that I owned was the PS2, the fat one, the original one. But anyways, that console came out back in 2000. Can't say enough. Probably one of the biggest collection of video games that I own right now is from the PS2. So many games I played on this console. So many good memories on really fun games. To this day, this is one of the probably consoles that has real enjoyable games. I during the time that I was unemployed when I lived in San Diego, this was the console that I really took advantage of, that I really played on. Had a lot of fun playing it. Real fun console indeed, with a lot of fun memories. Nowadays, these, I don't know. I bought my PS2 Slim. I bought it. I forgot to mention the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast I just showed you guys. I actually bought that one at the flea market about a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago, for $20. I bought my very last PS2 Slim. I purchased that one for I want to say like $10 because I bought it off the flea market as well, thinking it wasn't gonna work, and it ended up working great. So that one other Slim, I keep PS2 Slim, I keep it at my parents, and then I have this one, and then my girlfriend has her own that she let my son use, so he has it in his room. And yeah, well, anyways, moving right along, here comes to the last two consoles weren't very memorable. And this next console is a console that was memorable, but it was not. I really don't mind it much, and that is the Nintendo GameCube. Yes. Oh, and by the way, the first game I bought for the PS2 was Dark Angel. I owned it back in the days. It was a very cheap game, and it's still a cheap game now, but it was really fun. Bought a copy a couple of years ago, so Dark Angel was my very first game for that. But going back to the GameCube, yes, the GameCube. This is probably one of my least favorite consoles that I have. And one of the reasons is that, to me, by the time I owned the GameCube, the games, I wasn't really fond of the games. There is one aspect of this console that I did use the living daylights out of, and I'll explain in a minute. First game that I actually owned NBA 2K2. The GameCube came out on November 5th, 2001, so it came out a year after the PS2. I thought they came out around the same time, but I guess it didn't. And I guess one of the things is because a lot of the games that are for the GameCube are the same as the PS2. This is when the titles started coming out similar to the main consoles, like the PS2 and the GameCube had similar games. So to me, it was kind of like meh. Although the GameCube had exclusive games, kind of like, for example, one game that I love on the GameCube is Star Fox Adventures. Love that game. That game was fun. Also, Mega Man Battle Network. Believe it or not, Mega Man Battle Network was a mediocre, in my opinion, because I'm used to side-scrolling games, but in its own, it was a fun game to me, and those were the ones that stick out the most. Never played Luigi's Mansion on it. I do own Metroid Prime and those games, and those are the ones that I want to try it out. So basically, I got rid of the GameCube, and then I picked this one up a couple of years back. Got it for a real decent price. But the reason why I had a GameCube and what I enjoyed about the GameCube was this, you guys. That part of the console down there, you see that? That right there is to play Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, and Game Boy Color games. And this is what I use the GameCube the most, because during that time, the Game Boy Advance, in my opinion, was probably way better than the GameCube. Had awesome games for it, and to me was like a resurgence of the Super Nintendo. So when the GameCube the Game Boy player came out for the GameCube, this is where I took advantage of the system the most, was to play Game Boy Advance games at the time. Other than that, this is a console I really don't care much about, unfortunately. And it's gonna get, for Nintendo, in my opinion, it's gonna get a little worse coming up soon. I'll explain later in the next video when I do the next consoles. But yeah, for now, as we're moving right along in the 6th generation consoles, this one was one of my least favorites. And then finally, we're gonna get to a console that I just barely started playing. And that is, and excuse me guys, because this thing is humongous. Whoops, sorry, I moved the camera. And this one is the original Xbox. So I'm sorry, this console is so huge, so huge. I even have the player for it. Believe it or not, I bought this one particular player that I have here to play the screen. Actually, you can use it on the GameCube and other consoles, but it was mostly used. No, sorry. Actually, it's a different one. This one's for the Xbox. Yeah, so the Xbox. And Sorry, you guys. This thing is humongous. I just can't really move it around. But the original Xbox, came out on November 15th of 2001. So it came out 10 days after the GameCube. Never enjoyed this console during the actual time the original Xbox came out. It wasn't until about a year and a half ago that I just experienced the Xbox. And I gotta say that I was always a PlayStation boy. Like never followed. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to set this one down. Never followed, the Xbox. Let me just give you a picture of the front. Yeah, the Xbox. Yeah. Never really followed the Xbox until very, very recent. So I gotta say, it's all dirty. I gotta say that yeah, I'm new to the Xbox family, but believe it or not, my very first game for the Xbox when I bought it was X-Men Legends. I honestly haven't played that one yet, but I've played a couple of games. One of the main reasons was because my son, during the time I bought the Xbox, he was really into Halo. And how a little kid was into Halo. I've explained this before, but to me, Halo is a very, very memorable game. Played it right before my daughter was born last year, so I was really into the game. Had to hold off on playing Halo 2 and the next games in the series because it was very overwhelming, but it was a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun playing Halo. So one of the reasons, I just never cared for the Xbox. So I gotta say, I actually enjoyed it more than the GameCube, in my opinion. But I don't want to bash the GameCube because, GameCube still holds a special spot despite me not really liking it. That's why I got it, because I want to give it another shot and play some more games for it. I want to try the Metroid Prime games. But yeah. But anyways, this is my story of the 6th generation consoles, part 4. Gotta say that the next video that comes up, is gonna be rather interesting. The next consoles that I own for the 7th gen, I'll be talking about that. I'm hoping to get that video out within this month. I want to kind of wrap up this series. I'm dragging it. I'm not dragging it because I want to. It's just one of those things that I'm just dragging on this series, and I want to just wrap it up. But it's a lot of fun talking about. Not to say that it's not, but it's just that I want to just speed it up. Just speed it up. But anyways, that's my talk for the consoles that I own for the 6th generation. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Thank you guys for watching. This is Erik, the Bear Collector. Peace out.